Sally Mazzarella, on the board of Quinnipiac Land Trust and a Greenway council member.
Owen Rafter, representing County Executive Marcus Molyneux.
Stefan Yarbeck, Conservancy member, and was honored to become a member of the National Heritage Area as Congressman Hinchy's official representative, especially with the news this week. I'm very proud of that.
Sarah Olson, Greenway Conservancy and interim director.
Vincent Altieri for Rockland County.
Fran Dunwell for Commissioner Basil Sagos from the New York Department of Environmental Conservation.
I'm Fran Gubler. I'm from the Preservation League, and I'm going to tell you about some of our recent grantees.
Andy Beers, Director of the Empire State Trail on the Hudson Greenway staff.
Andy Bicking, Director of Public Policy for Scenic Hudson.
Wendell Ulrich, member of the Communities Council.
Morning, J.B. here with the New York State Department of State.
Good morning, I'm Betty Head, and I'm the Albany County representative to the Communities Council.
Jane Daniels, I'm on the Conservancy Board.
Cindy Lancetta, I'm a Greenway Conservancy Council member.
Johanna Yon, Orange County historian and representing Orange County.
Linda Vonderheide, representing Rensselaer County on the Greenways Council.
Linda Cooper, representing Acting Commissioner Eric Kulisay, New York State Office of Parks, Recreation, and Historic Preservation.
Jason Wolfanger,
Pardon me, Barney?
Absolutely wonderful. We bid a sorrowful farewell to Rose Harvey, who did a fabulous job in the commissioner position, and are excited to welcome Eric Kulisay in her place.
I saluted this morning as we passed.
Great.
Jason Wolfanger, a delegate for the New York State Department of Transportation Commissioner.
I'm Brendan Coyne. I'm the mayor of Cornwall and Hudson.
Barbara Sweet, interested resident.
Diane Dintroth, resident of town of Esopus. Esopus has a grant to improve river access, so I'd sure like to hear about any particularly unique sustainability or resiliency features people have implemented in the parks.
I'm Shannon Harris. I'm the supervisor for the town of Esopus, and very honored and excited to be here with you all today.
I'm Kathy Quick, town councilman, town of Esopus.
Jeff Canning, board member of the National Washington-Rochambeau Revolutionary Route Association.
Carl Jim Johnson, Executive Director, Hudson River Valley Institute at Marist College, military historian.
Jim Hall, Executive Director of the Palisades Interstate Park Commission.
Sean Sawyer, President of the Alana Partnership.
Joan Burrows with the John Burroughs Association, happily finishing up entrance signs with the grant, a heritage grant from those folks, and with an unveiling date of May 18th.
Great.
Good morning, Judy Farrell, councilwoman for the town of Phillipstown. Delighted to be here this morning.
Nat Prentice, volunteer, town of Phillipstown.
Mike Leonard, Councilman, town of Phillipstown.
Larry Turk, National Park Service.
And I'm Dan Jeanson with the Greenway staff.
And one more.
Vernon Benjamin, town of Saugerties.
We're always grateful for the National Park Service. It is a wonderful place to be, and because it's convenient, mostly, because it's halfway, and we've got a very good turnout. And thanks very much to the Park Service for the park.
Absolutely. To the Park Service and our friends at the FDR Library as well. And we're always so happy to see everyone. Thanks for turning out this morning. I think we all feel like we've just starting to turn the corner now on spring, and it's getting exciting. You can feel it building. And when we're taking the train this morning from New York, we got to the snow line, and we were marking upon it, but I assure you, there's nicer weather coming down the way. I do want to make one note on the agenda today, which is we were looking forward to having a lecture by David Schuyler, an historian who's written 2 volumes on the Hudson River's history, and unfortunately he wasn't able to make the trip up at the last minute from his teaching position at Lafayette College, so he won't be here this morning. We'll get him another time, perhaps. That said, we want to take a moment to actually offer 2 very special proclamations, and for that I want to turn it over to Barney.
Ned Ames, who is not here, but I think certainly a majority of the members know Ned because he had worked for the Hudson and then.
Yeah,
Barney,
to get him to the mic.
Did you come to the mic?
Oh, okay, yes, all right. That's a good idea. Talking about Ned Ames, and what he did for the Greenway and for the Hudson River would take all morning to list. So we'll write him a note and give him the proclamation, which we have. Kevin, don't we? Yes? Okay. See. Do you want to read that?
Yeah.
Yes, you can.
So here's the actual language of the proclamation, which is nice. Proclamation commending Edward Ames for distinguished service to the board of the Hudson River Valley Greenway Communities Council. Whereas Edward Ned Ames was appointed to the Greenway Council on the 25th day of October 2002 and has faithfully attended the meetings and participated in the proceedings. And whereas Edward Ames has provided the citizens of the Hudson River Valley with his time, effort, and knowledge, and whereas Edward Ames has retired as a member of the Greenway Council, therefore, be it resolved, the joint boards of the Hudson River Valley Greenway do hereby pause in their deliberations to honor and commend Edward Ames for his 16 years of dedicated service to the communities and citizens of the Hudson River Valley Greenway, and be it further resolved, that a copy of this proclamation be provided to Edward Ames by the Greenway as a symbol of our appreciation.
May I have a motion?
So moved.
Okay.
Second?
No, okay. All right.
All in
All those
favor?
in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
There are no
No.
opposed.
Wonderful.
Okay. Now, next one is this certificate for James Hall is around here someplace. And Jim, you've led us in the right direction for a very long time. And we can't believe that you will be happy in Florida. But you plan to go, right? We have something for you to take with you, a certificate. Kevin, we got that, and would you mind reading the...
Not at all. This is a certificate of highest merit. And Jim, come on up. Certificate of highest merit presented to Jim Hall for his career-long dedication and commitment to the parks and historic sites of the Palisades Interstate Parks and his tireless efforts to restore and reopen to the public the Tower of Victory at Washington's headquarters State Historic Site, presented this 13th day of March 2019 of the Hudson River Valley Greenway.
Would you like to talk a little bit about the tower?
Just to note on the tower project, obviously, restoration of the roof and restoration of the concept of the tower. I think the project will only make many partners, a lot of people that after 60 years of the roof being removed from the tower, hurricane in the 1950s, it's finally been restored. April 27th, all year. So we're welcome to attend the grand reopening at noon. Very excited. Washington Post is very excited. Also see the treasure. We're very excited about the project. It's going to be great for us.
Jim, they'll all be invited. When is the...
April 27th.
April 27th. mark it in your calendar.
It's a Saturday.
It's exciting because this is a remarkable piece of architecture. There's only a couple of these things left. They were all done 100 years after the revolution.
Right, it's a centennial celebration of the disbanding of the troops from the Revolutionary War.
And it's right down in Newburgh, right by Washington's headquarters. So it's a good way to see a couple of very fine historic sites. And you've done a great job in getting it there.
On behalf of everybody.
Thank you. And Jim, can you step through for a picture?
I'll step out.
I hope so.
I think you need to go see this.
All right, so we'll maybe just, okay?
We can do whatever you want.
Okay.
Now hold that damn thing up, okay? Okay. There you go. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, James.
Yep. Yeah, and I was just going to mention that, thinking about Jim's service and career and what a wonderful job he's done at the Palisades Interstate Park Commission, and a great pleasure to work with him. And I think you can see some of the proof of that when you go down, if anyone hasn't been there yet, I highly recommend going to the New York Historical Society down in Manhattan. A couple weeks ago, they launched a new exhibition called Hudson Rising. And it's really a 360-degree look at the Hudson River, going back to the settlement here, all the way up to today. And we go from the Palisades to the Adirondacks and the various parks and look at it culturally through the arts. And I know that, Jim, your team did a lot of work providing them with archival material. And it really is a wonderful exhibition, and just a reminder of how much the Palisades really enchant and elevate things as soon as you leave the city. In fact, when Barney and I were on the train this morning leaving New York, as soon as you get around that bend and you start to see the Palisades, you just take a nice breath. Yeah.
Hudson Rising is kind of an unfortunate title because the Hudson is rising, and as you all know, at high tide, it's only 2.5 feet to the tracks, right? So come visit, but soon.
Very good. So that concludes our presentations, and now we have to review our agenda. No? Oh, I'm sorry. I was thinking of David. I apologize. So we actually do have a speaker today that we are looking forward to hearing from, and that's Frank Gugler, who you gave a preview before we went around the introductions. But Fran's here from the Preservation League of New York State, and here to talk about technical assistance grants.
Good morning, everyone. I'm going to try to concentrate on directing my voice into the right spot so you all can hear me. I'm sort of a naturally quiet person. But anyway, I wanted to thank everyone for having me this morning. I am from the Preservation League of New York State. We are New York's statewide historic preservation nonprofit. We're located in Albany, but our service area is all 62 counties. So I always tell everyone I'm in the car a lot. But I am here today to talk a little bit about our recent Technical Assistance Grant Awards because we were very fortunate and thankful to have additional funding from the Hudson River Valley Greenway National Heritage Area to supplement this program. So I'm going to tell you a little bit about some of these awesome grantees that we have. So we actually have two grant programs that are partnerships with the New York State Council on the Arts. At the moment, we are currently accepting applications for the Preserve New York program. They're due on March 25th. The focus of our NISCA partnership grant programs is to provide 501c3 nonprofits and municipalities with funding to be able to conduct preservation planning studies. So we're talking about things like building condition reports, historic structure reports, cultural landscape reports, and cultural resource surveys. Our Preserve New York program has been in existence since 1993. We've helped many communities list buildings and sites on the National Register. We've helped with many preservation planning projects that have later gone on to receive larger state grants for restoration. The Technical Assistance Grant Program has been around since 2012, and this is our smaller grant program that sort of dives deep into some of these different types of specific building studies. The focus of the TAG program is for arts and cultural organizations. And so the funding comes from NISCA, but we are always looking for additional partnerships. And this past fall, we were very thankful to have additional funding from the National Heritage Area. So we did some specific outreach in the Hudson River Valley service area so that we could provide some additional funding to 501c3 nonprofits and municipalities in the Greenway. So the TAG program, like I said, it's our smaller grant program. It provides, actually in the past it's always provided up to $3,000 in funding for total project costs of $3,500. This year we're looking to increase the allowable funding per project just because costs of planning studies have increased since 2012 and we want to be mindful of that. But so the program is open to nonprofits and municipalities that own or lease buildings that serve an arts or cultural purpose. So we're specifically looking for places like museums, libraries, historical societies, art centers, town halls, or spaces that are municipally owned that are used for community gatherings. So this program is able to provide a lot of reach into the arts and cultural community that we have here in New York State. So the TAG program funds a bunch of different kinds of studies. These are supposed to be quick preservation planning studies that will help a group get started on a larger preservation project right away. So we're thinking about things like specific building condition surveys, feasibility reuse studies, engineering structural analysis projects, handicapped accessibility projects, mechanical studies, and also specialized conservation studies. So this past year, and I'm going to have to spin around, we made 19 grant awards in 17 counties, so this Google map shows where we've distributed these types of things. The ones in green are all the ones that are in the Hudson River Valley Greenway.
So as you can see from the map, we have pretty good geographic distribution of where we made these grant awards this past year. But overall, we had 12 building condition surveys, a couple engineering structural analysis projects, feasibility review studies, and other specialized conservation studies. We had 8 projects in the corridor authority. So we'll go through some of these. in Hudson. This is Hendrick Hudson chapter of the Daughters of the American Revolution. This building is right on Main Street. This is their headquarters. They use it for events. They did some engineering work back in 2016, and then they went on and focus on architectural issues in the building so that they can get out the buildings. They sought some contact for a building condition survey. Here in Dutchess County, this is the town of Hudson Historical Society. This building actually was originally a Quaker meeting house. It was used by the Friends for quite a while. They made a lot of interior modifications. They did an exterior rebuilding and things pretty much finished. Now it's used as a historical society headquarters. Since so much has happened to the building over time, they would really like to work as a group study to figure out how they can best go about using the space for what they need now, which is to house their collections, exhibits, programming. It's also going to talk about things like the planning systems in the building. Also in Dutchess County, this is the Bacon Hall Association. This is a pre-museum, pre-library in the building. This also was originally a Quaker building. They have one of the coolest natural history collections that go in the basement of this place, so it's pretty awesome to visit stuff in that part of the place. We previously funded a window conservation assessment. This building has lots of great character behind it, impact historic windows, but it also has this beautiful clock tower that has had an assessment. And so they sought some funding to have an engineer specifically look at the clock tower. And they did plenty of clock tower. We could probably use an engineering assessment. This is an art center in Batavia. This is the Genesee Regional Arts Council. This building was originally built as a bank, and later it was acquired by a private and social club. It was given over to be used as an art center in 2002. The building had had a condition assessment done in 1994 that actually demanded the whole building be plus maintenance. And so now in 2019, many years later, they're making a beautiful property that's exact. They use this building every day for exhibitions, classes, events. So they sought some funding for the building conditions. This is Lewis County. This is the Constable Hall Association. This was formerly a home, a wealthy family that lived in the area, and now it's open as a museum and historic site during the summer. They received a very large state grant just several years ago to do some further work on the cheese and the wood collection. They're still having post-certification issues. So they really need to do a lot of it. They sought some funding for a building condition survey that they could figure out how to get that water to some of those interior and exterior spaces. This is in Nassau County on Long Island. This is the headquarters of the Garden City Historical Society. This building, they actually call it the Apostle House. It was one of the buildings that was designed They've been working on restoration of the buildings for many years. So they're one of the first one in the cases. They sought some funding for building condition survey. This is in Orange County, the town of Warwick Historical Society. They own a couple of buildings. This is actually a meeting house that's from the hill in the town. They used it for community events and they also rent the space for weddings and other functions. It hasn't had those conditions since it was that. This is in Saratoga This building recently came up, it was vacant or for sale, and they just said we could save it, so they acquired it, and they're looking to turn it into a museum and meeting space. So, but the second floor is not accessible at all, so they sought funding. This is up in St. Louis County. This is the building that is owned previously, it actually has the format of the
see the range of properties along the Hudson, you begin to understand why we think it's so important. And you're doing a great job. You really are. Now, Kevin, what's next?
Now we go to the agenda. Thank you again, Fran. So now we move into the business portion of the meeting, and that begins with reviewing the agenda for today, and also to solicit any board member comments on the agenda. So leave it open to the floor. If there are none, we'll proceed. Okay, we've got to approve a couple of minutes here. First is the November 14th, 2018 combined meeting of the Greenway Communities Council and Conservancy. And for that, I'll need approval. So that'll be a first and a second. Sally, and second Bob. All in favor to adopt the minutes? Aye. Any opposed? Great. And then, of course, we have the Grants Committee meeting minutes. That's from March 5th. That was just last week. So this is just for the Grants Committee. Bob, you first, okay. And a second? Second. Wint, okay. And this is just the Grants Committee again. All in favor? Aye. Aye. Any opposed? Any recusals? Okay. Great. So that then opens up the Greenway Conservancy meeting. And for that, I'll call it to order and turn it over to Scott, who's going to speak about something very exciting, which I think we just cheered from our respective homes when we saw the news about the governor's State of the State. So go ahead.
Thank you, Kevin. In his State of the State in January, the governor announced that to complement the governor's Empire State Trail, a sister water trail will be developed, linking over 1,700 miles of navigable state waterways together with consistent branding and website development. So we have an Empire State Water Trail now.
And we wouldn't have had it but for this guy. Yeah, that's true.
And Governor Cuomo.
Scott, can we designate you the admiral of the Empire State Water?
Well, the governor's office has asked the Greenway to take the lead on this project as well, and recognizing that Andy sort of has his hands full, Beth and Cody and I are going to take the lead on this one. We have different water trails, include the Greenways Water Trail and the Bronx River Water Trail, both of which are designated as national water trails. It includes the entire canal system. We're holding a meeting next week with a lot of municipal and private sector partners from the South Shore Blueway in Nassau County that Jamie worked on, from New York City Water Trail, from the Lake Champlain Paddlers Trail, which is a membership organization, and from the Niagara and Buffalo Rivers Water Trail, which is not even online yet, but will be online later this year. So we see already an addition coming. So we will be developing a website. This particular proposal came with no money, so we're going to convert the Greenways Water Trail website into an Empire State Water Trail website until the Empire State Trail website is up and running, and then they will be merged into two pieces of the same website. So that's that. More work. And Andy, as long as we're talking about Empire State Trails, would you like to talk about the Empire State Trail itself?
Always glad you're here.
Yes. So I have a couple slides. I'm just going to be giving you an update on the Empire State Trail and specifically focusing on the Albany Hudson Electric Trail. The overall Empire State Trail program is moving forward full speed. We have two more construction seasons, 2019, 2020, to complete the entire 750-mile route across the state. Keep going, okay. And we're making great progress here in the Hudson Valley. New York State DOT, Jason Wolfhanger and his colleagues in Region 8 and in Region 1 are working on a number of projects, many of the on-road connections of the trail, and all those are on speed and moving forward. We have the Metro North is in the process of awarding their contract to construct a new 23-mile rail trail called the Maybrook Trailway from Brewster in Putnam County up to Hopewell Junction, which will close one of the major gaps in the lower Hudson Valley of the trail. Those of you that drive through New Paltz have seen that starting as soon as the weather dries up again, DOT will be completing the project under construction that brings completes the connection from the walkway over the Hudson into New Paltz. We have the Wallkill Valley Rail Trail, Wallkill Valley Land Trust and Open Space Institute are starting a project this summer to make improvements to the Wallkill Valley Rail Trail. So that project is in play. The New York State Bridge Authority is opening bids tomorrow on their project to create, the Empire State Trail will go across the Kingston-Rhinecliff Bridge, and they're going to be putting a protected pedestrian walkway or sidewalk on the bridge. So that project will be under construction this summer as well. That gets us back into Dutchess County, and we're working on on-road projects as well. DOT doing a number of projects along through Columbia and Dutchess counties. We're going to be making, DEC is going to be making some improvements through on the existing bicycle route through the Tivoli Bays Wildlife Management Area. So those are all some of the larger Hudson Valley projects that are all queued up we're sprinting towards completion by the fall of 2020, but we have more than 50 projects statewide to get done, and as you can imagine, with all the participating agencies, there's always bumps along the way, but as of now, everything is on schedule. It can be completed over the next 2 years. Okay. It did not make the disc. Okay, so skip the slides and I'll just talk. So the Albany Hudson Electric Trail is the one major project that the Hudson Valley Greenway, our organization, is constructing. It's a 36-mile rail trail that starts in the city of Rensselaer in Rensselaer County and runs down through into Columbia County to the city of Hudson. It's on a former electric trolley line that went out of business in 1929, but it's remained in continuous ownership as a utility corridor owned today by National Grid. So you're all familiar generally with the project. Where we are is we've made tremendous progress over the last 6 months. We completed the engineering designs in December and bid the project. We opened bids on February 13th, and we are in process of contract awards. We bid the project as two separate entities in Rensselaer County, which is 17 miles of trail and some on-road sections. That contract the bids came in right around our engineer's estimate, and so we are awarding that work to a company called Carver Construction. We expect to have contracts awarded this month. We're, as always, waiting for the last small item, which is our Army Corps and DEC permits, which are almost there at the finish line, but we expect to have those. April 5th is our target date with those agencies. So assuming everything stays on track, construction will start on that section in mid-April. Very exciting, and it's a 17-mile project, so it's a 2-year construction cycle, but some of the sections will be completed by this fall. So very, very exciting to be moving forward there. In Columbia County, when we opened the bids there, the bids came in somewhat above our estimate and our available budget. So what we're doing in Columbia County is we are awarding about 3/4 of the work. Aha. All right. We have a mic. There we go. Okay. So there's the trail route. The north end is the city of Rensselaer, and the south end is the city of Hudson. Dividing line, county line about halfway down. So in Columbia County, which runs through the towns of Chatham, Stuyvesant, and Kinderhook, we are awarding that work to begin this spring, to a firm named Colarusso, which is a large company located in the city of Hudson that does both road and trail construction. And so that project also, we're awarding the first segment of that work to get underway, and then we are going to have to rescope and figure out exactly what we're going to do with our remaining budget for the sections in the town of Stockport and Stuyvesant to get. So if you see that gray arrow there, everything from there north is what we're immediately awarding for construction start in April, and then we're going to rescope completing the section south of the arrow there. The last thing I need to, I can't say enough about how exciting it is after 2 years of work. You open those bids and you're just terrified, right? What if we have a meltdown? Wasn't perfect, but close. And so we have enough to get 80% of the trail under construction, and we'll come up with a plan to complete the rest. The last thing I have to tell you is that since the Greenway Conservancy was created in 1991, correct? 1994? 1994, went into business. Our Albany Electric Trail has succeeded in bringing the first litigation ever against the Greenway Conservancy. I'm sorry to report. We do have in Columbia County, in the town of Stockport, there are some adjacent landowners who are opposed to the trail passing by their property. We made a lot of efforts. We met with them many times in the field. We came up with some mitigation strategies. At the end of the day, they just want us to go away, so they have hired an attorney and initiated litigation against the Greenway, seeking to block the trail. We are ably represented by the Attorney General's office, who believes we have we're in a very sound position and is enthusiastically defending us in two related lawsuits related to the trail. So, these will take time. We've already responded to an Article 78 challenging our environmental impact statement and our decision-making process. There's a separate litigation regarding property ownership. Those will play out over time, and that'll be part of our strategy as we scope out the remaining work in Stockport and Stuyvesant, and we'll certainly keep you informed of that issue as well as it proceeds. So that's my presentation. Again, here's just, again, reminding you, spring is coming. This is in North Chatham. This is one of the original buildings that was a trolley stop. It's been converted into a building used by the North Chatham Historical Society. And the trail route literally is right down that green area next to the route. It's just sort of emblematic of the work. And we're going to have, as I say, construction starting next month. And some sections of trail completed in 2019 with the balance completed in 2020. Any questions? Yes.
Across the Kingston-Rhinecliff Bridge.
Yes, so the Kingston-Rhinecliff Bridge today and for many, many years has been open to bicyclists but not pedestrians. You are allowed to ride bicycles across the bridge on the shoulders. The protected sidewalk, which will be protected with a barrier, will be marked for pedestrians only. It'll have a 4 to 5 foot width, which is not sufficient to authorize bicycles and pedestrians to both be on that width. So bicyclists will be expected to either continue to ride on the shoulders as they do today, or if people want to cross the bridge and are not comfortable riding, then they will be directed to dismount and walk their bikes across the bridge.
Thank you.
Yep. Win?
I hope that there be no billable hours charged to the Conservancy's treasury by the AG for his able work.
Oh, that's correct. We are represented. I'm not sure who was responsible for this, but when the Greenway Conservancy statute was written, there's a provision in there that says the AG shall represent the Conservancy on all matters. So that, yes, we are represented without charge, which is the case as how the AG operates for state entities. Correct. Kevin? Oh, sorry, I thought you had a question.
Just given how slow litigation can be, how are you going to navigate around that, and how will that affect your timeline, if at all, in terms of the 2020 deadline?
Right. So the rescoping is primarily, we're thinking about the lawsuit, it's primarily about budget. There's about a 5-mile section, which is the southern section, which we have to complete. Part of that was already going to be on a road, County Route 25, which is a county road. If necessary, we will just extend a little more of the section that's on there. We're certainly not abandoning the off-road sections. We plan, for example, National Grid is going to be out moving some of their infrastructure up and down the 36 miles where poles or guy wires in the way. They're going to move all their infrastructure out of the way on the entire section, so it'll be permitted, shovel-ready, seeker done, all those things. And so if there is a temporary period where there's an on-road section, it still would be our anticipation that once funding is secured in the future, that the entire trail will be built eventually. Mm-hmm.
This is very exciting, it really is, because it's the first time that we've been able to actually build things. And a high-speed trolley line, which none of us really probably ever saw because they went out of business in 1929, right?
Correct, yes.
And which is the year of my nativity, and this is going to be a wondrous thing. You guys have done a marvelous job. You really have.
Yeah, no, I mean, and the Conservancy Board stuck with us through the environmental planning process and the environmental impact statement, and it's very gratifying for all of us working on this to see, we're going to get shovels in the ground very quickly. Yep. All right, thank you.
Some questions? They like everything you're doing.
Okay, now we get to the fun stuff, accounting. Several years ago, the legislature created the authority within the comptroller's office to run a public authorities office. And at the time, we reached out to the comptroller because the definition seemed to indicate that the Greenway Conservancy should be part of that. And they said, we'll get back to you, and we heard nothing but crickets until Andy came along and started spending all this money. Now they've told us that we are, in fact, they have added us to the system, and we now have to begin to report. We're starting to work through that process for the first time, and they have a website set up called the Public Authorities Reporting Information System, or PARIS for short, and it's never the springtime. They require a number of reports submitted each year. The first is a 6-year budget that includes the immediate past, current, and 4-year out budgets. Obviously, since we're subject to appropriations, we don't have 4-year out, so the best we can do is take a guess, as my accounting professor used to say. For Conservancy members, you did get in your packet 2 different sets of budgets for this, for the fiscal year ended 2019 and the fiscal year that will end 2020, March 31st of this year. So we are going to ask for a vote to adopt those budgets so that we can put them on our website and proceed accordingly. The other thing is, last time are there any questions on that? Beautiful, I didn't think so. We need to authorize the officers and Beth as a deputy executive officer to sign checks. We had officer elections last time. To remind you, Kevin has been appointed as chair, Betsy is vice chair, Sarah Olson is secretary, and Jane McLaughlin is our treasurer. We have 8 different bank accounts in 2 different banks for a variety of reasons, some of which involve banking consolidation, some of which involve keeping appropriation and non-appropriation money separate. So the Conservancy members also got copies of the resolutions from Key Bank and a resolution from M&T Bank, and we need to vote on those. And I believe you're up to call for those.
Yeah, somebody votes
One vote for all of it.
Just one for everything. An omnibus resolution.
An omnibus
Great, okay.
adoption.
I'm happy to do so, and we'll need a first and a second. Stefan, okay, second? Jane, okay, all in favor from the Conservancy? Okay, any opposed? Wonderful. Thank you so much. I think that concludes the Greenway Conservancy portion.
Does.
Okay, now we get to the senior part of this, which is the council, is that, Sally, we've been doing this for
Many, many years.
we were mere children when this all started, right? The council, there's a Conservancy and the council, and this is now the council, and we're making grants to 4 organizations, and I will read those to you, to the town of Esopus, to the village of Cornwall, and the village of Piermont, and the town of Phillipstown. Now that's the lot of them, and so I'm going to ask for.
Well, let me describe them and
Oh yeah, you.
have people talk
Well, I wouldn't want to cut into your time here. Go ahead, Scott.
All right. The town of Esopus is applying for a Greenway planning grant to assist in funding an update of the town's land use regulations in accordance with the town's new comprehensive plan, which is expected to be adopted in April. They've requested $10,000. The grants committee is recommending to the board that they award $10,000 with the update, with the grant being dependent upon the comp plan being adopted so that this project can move forward. Supervisor Shannon Harris is here from the town of Esopus, which is my old home. Supervisor, welcome.
Thank you very much. I appreciate your awarding us this grant. When I first joined the Esopus Economic Development Committee, the landowners there were very interested in pursuing zoning changes. This grant that you've given us relates specifically to an update to our land use policy. But with no prior plan in place, we were a bit out of order and needed to get our house in order and do the appropriate planning and visioning. And through that process, we've touched over 1,000 residents. We've engaged the community. We've had 3 open houses, which have all been well attended. We just recently had our Future of Esopus meeting last week to conclude what was a very expedited process of our master plan update. So now we have done the necessary homework. We've invested in realigning all of our volunteer boards and committees to help implement the plan. This will not be a plan that sits on the shelf. It is a plan that will be actioned by our own residents and volunteers and town staff. So we're in the proper sequence now to move forward on a land use policy update, which we have sought input from Scenic Hudson, Riverkeeper, other stakeholders, DEC as well. I saw Fran was here, and we are readily eager to incorporate a lot of the feedback that has come back so that we will make good use of this grant, and we appreciate your assistance and support through our community process.
Thank you. The next grant is for the Village of Cornwall on Hudson in Orange County. They are seeking $10,000 to develop a new comprehensive plan to replace their last approved comprehensive plan from 1960. Mayor Brendan Coyne, the Grants Committee is recommending the full funding for that, and Mayor Brendan Coyne is here from Cornwall on Hudson.
Thank you, Scott. Good morning. As Scott just said, we haven't had a new plan since 1960. We did almost have one in 2007, and money was a problem. So I'm very grateful for the grant that we'll be receiving. It'll go a long way to getting us to the finish line. Our comprehensive plan committee is made up of residents of the village, a couple of engineers, a couple of people have been on, other planning boards in the town of Cornwall as well as the Village of Cornwall and Hudson. So I'm very pleased at their work. And they came to me recently and said, we need some help to get past the finish line, and I think this will do it. One of the problems that I had, or I wasn't there in 2007, as I understand it, was funding for a planner to come in and say, all right, tweak this, tweak that, and get it done. 1960 is a long time ago, and we need this plan updated, and I'm very grateful for the grant.
Thank you. The next grant is for the Village of Piermont in Rockland County for a Sustainable Piermont Action Plan. They have requested $10,000. The Grants Committee is recommending $10,000 for them to develop an action plan for volunteers and village leadership to accomplish a set of recommendations in Piermont's waterfront resiliency roadmap in priority projects in its updated LWRP, with a focus on resiliency and sustainability in an era of sea level rise and climate change. I know that they've worked with DEC on this. I don't know if there's anybody here from Piermont. Don't think so. Fran, we're just talking about the Piermont Sustainability Grant for sea level rise. Do you have any comments on that one as the agency that has done a tremendous amount of work on sustainability?
And I just wanted to bring from Senator Sue Serino up, her staff is involved.
Okay.
They're probably right on time for what's next on your agenda.
They are.
So the Hudson River Estuary Program has been doing a lot of work with communities that are currently experiencing flooding due to storms, storm surge, sea level rise. The Hudson has risen a foot in the last century. It's risen 6 inches just since I was a teenager. And so sea level is rising. It seems to be imperceptible just a little bit at a time, but it does add up. And we are now witnessing a lot of communities that are having regular flooding, even when there's just a regular high tide of the month. Many of these communities are having flooding in their parks, in their train stations, on their waterfronts. And so we've been working with communities that are interested in planning for sea level rise and flooding to become more resilient. And so we currently are working very actively with the City of Kingston, the Village of Catskill, the City of Hudson, the Village of Piermont, and the town of Stony Point. And so we are I'm seeing your notes here. You've got your sustainability plan. Is that what you'd like me to speak to?
Well, no, I
Okay.
just wanted you to speak to what you've been doing.
Okay, so anyway, we're working with those communities to help them be more resilient to sea level rise. Department of State is a key partner in this with us, as is the Greenway. State Parks is involved. So we are very interested in continuing to have these conversations. We have put out a request for proposals ourselves just in the last couple of days for a community that has done some of this visioning to take it the next step and develop an engineering plan for actually implementing a resiliency project. So we'll be telling you more about that in the coming months.
Thank you.
Okay.
The last one is for the town of Phillipstown in Putnam County. They are doing a comprehensive plan update. This is a compact grant. They've requested $15,000. The Grants Committee is recommending $15,000. And I think we have 2 council people here from Phillipstown.
I'm the one who's been elected to speak.
And you're Michael Leonard?
I'm going to give Michael Leonard all the credit, but
okay.
My name is Nat Prentice, and I'm a volunteer and have been coordinating a resident and volunteer committee that's been working on a comprehensive plan update for 12 months. But before I tell you 2 things about that, I want to make sure everybody knows where Phillipstown is, because it's actually a name not everybody recognizes, but it's the home of a couple of villages, Cold Spring that you know, a hamlet called Garrison that everybody knows. It's also the home of a place called Boscobel, which is a wonderful place to visit, the house and gardens, and there's certainly a couple of, you may not all know Jennifer Carlquist, who's the executive director of Boscobel. She happens to be with us today. We really, the town of Phillipstown, on behalf of the town of Phillipstown, we're very thankful for your willingness to work with us on the comprehensive plan update. The citizens group has gone about as far as it can go. We need some money to help us bring in some people who can really make this plan come to life. It seeks to update a plan that was written in 2006. And while that's not a very long time ago, and that was a good plan, our awareness of the climate has grown an awful lot since then. Our awareness of social issues has grown an awful lot. So we really need this, and thank you. It wouldn't have been possible without our 2 town board member representatives who are with us. The town board of Phillipstown is a very enlightened group. This is Michael Leonard over in the corner, and this is Judy Farrell. These are 2 members of the town board who have made my job of trying to coordinate this activity easy. I also wanted to say what a pleasure it was to work with the Greenway staff, who made the job of making an application for me, who tried to coordinate that effort. They were helpful to me on more than one occasion, very responsive to any question I have, and I thank you all for doing this for us.
Thank you.
So we shall now vote. But the total is, we'll do it on one motion, one total, $45,000, which is a lot of money, and it's well-deserved. These are good programs. It's really exciting. $45,000 for just this one area. That That was our budget 20 years ago, Scott, remember? So, I should like to have a motion for the approval of the grant to these four, that's the Sophus, Cornwall, Piermont, and Phillipstown. Okay, all right, and a second? Second, okay. All those in favor, please indicate by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed? Wonderful. All right, now, Scott? Give him the money, okay? All right, so I think that's it on this, isn't it, Scott? You don't need anything else there. Kevin?
Yeah, I just wanted, so now want to move to the portion of the meeting that's for the Hudson River Valley National Heritage Area. We've got some exciting developments there that I know that Scott will want to bring to you. But I also just wanted to quickly note that, again, Jim mentioned it earlier, but on April 27th, which is a Saturday, from 12 to 4 p.m. in the afternoon, there will be an opening ceremony for the Tower of Victory at Washington's headquarters in Newburgh. And we hope that many of you will come and spread the word about it. It's something that we've been working on for a long time and care a lot about. It's a beautiful site. The view of the Highlands from there is quite stunning. And we're going to have a number of events that day, including a keynote speech by my friend, the historian Barnett Schechter, who's a George Washington biographer. We'll be giving a talk on Washington that day. So I hope many of you can come. I do think it's one of the most exciting projects in the valley since the walkway, I think.
Why don't you ask Winthrop to say something about it?
Well, I'm happy to do it. It was in, I think, November of 1950. We all remember the evening when the hurricane blew the top off. In fact, it was a microburst that affected Dutchess County and Orange County and other parts of the valley. Never to be forgotten. Never to be forgiven either, because it has been, 60, 70 years almost, 65 years, that the public has been without access to that wonderful viewing platform, which celebrates the whole strategic history during the Revolution of the Hudson Highlands Gorge and Washington's residency on that wonderful location, and of course the culmination of the American Revolution with the Peace of Paris and the sending the troops home. So it's all been fixed, and it's been fixed really through the help of many, many people. But Maurice Hinchy led the parade and provided, I think, at least half the money, Barney. Certainly the federal appropriation was the thing that jump-started this project. So we can all now go up and admire the view, admire that most interesting, and I think that's as far as I'll go, interesting piece of architecture, but celebrate the effort over so many years to celebrate that site and Washington's contributions. Thanks.
Thanks, Wint. Stefan obliquely referenced this earlier, but the land use bill from the Senate was passed in the Senate, the House, and signed by the President 2 days ago. And the name of our National Heritage Area is now Maurice D. Hinchy Hudson River Valley National Heritage Area. Beth and I attended a press event with Congressman Maloney last week, and he was very excited about it. He explained that the entire New York delegation sponsored this bill. Obviously, they all voted for it too. So we're thrilled to have this honor. The Hinchy family was there. They're thrilled at the honor. And moving on. Federal fiscal year 2019 budget. The budget has been passed finally. We've received $491,000 again this year. The management committee is meeting after this meeting, and we'll discuss a work plan, and then we will present a budget to the board of directors at a subsequent meeting. Beth, would you like to come up and talk about the 2019 Ramble?
Just want to mention that this September will be the 20th anniversary of the Hudson River Valley Ramble. we're very excited that we have done this many years of this amazing program with the help of our agency partners like Parks and DEC Estuary Program, and also all of the smaller agencies and the small organizations and volunteers that put together these amazing programs. So we'll be opening the website for registration of events probably the beginning of April, and the actual ramble will take place each weekend in September, so that also includes one Saturday of August at the beginning, because the 1st of September is a Sunday. So please think about what your organization or what organizations in your community might do to host a Ramble event, and get in touch with us if you have any questions about how to do that. Look out for our newsletter, our e-newsletter, for that signal of when the website is open. Thanks.
Thank you, Beth. I also want to add my thanks to Fran, who, in addition to her staff putting on numerous events, Fran also contributes $5,000 a year from her budget to help support this event, which is critical to our being able to do it as well as we do. And Beth and Cody work on that very hard, and it takes a lot of their time, and they do a spectacular job. The Hudson River Train Tour app. Bet you didn't think I could find something new to say this time. Several area museum programs and individuals have earned 2019 Awards of Merit from the Museum Association of New York. The awards were announced last Friday and will be presented April 8th. The Train Tour app has been awarded an Award of Merit and Excellence in Digital Design. The awards committee said of the project, this is one of the best things happening in our state and should get recognition for how it connects the public to our history and heritage. So congratulations, Dan, who did a lot of the work on this, and the rest of the staff who all did numerous train rides to check it out. Further updates, we debuted 8 new audio stories in January, including the Hudson River Greenway Water Trail, Thomas Cole, Lighthouses, the Roosevelts, which is mostly focused on Eleanor Roosevelt, the Dutch in the Hudson Valley, the American Revolution, Sing Sing Prison, and Washington Irving and Sleepy Hollow. As of February 28th, the app has been downloaded over 2,500 times. We've seen users from at least 5 foreign countries and 18 states. And there are notable spikes in usage on the weekends and holidays, which tells us we're getting the tourists, but we're not getting the commuters yet. So we have a marketing company, BBG&G, who is on board again for this year, and they will be focusing a marketing plan we're going to figure out something to try to target commuters a little more and get them on board to try to get a level of support where this kind of takes off on its own. Currently, we have 18 audio stories in the app, and we're going to add 10 more in 2019. The new stories will feature ice harvesting, birds of the Hudson, Hudson River pilots, which are the ship drivers, not aerialists, the Catskills, FDR his own self, race and immigration in Newburgh, which Kevin will be a speaker on, commercial fishermen, bridges of the Hudson, and Alexander Hamilton and John Burroughs. So, with the addition of these stories, we're going to have enough material where you can't just play all the audio stories on one trip. So we currently have nature and culture, freedom and dignity, and corridor of commerce themes for the sites along the river. We're going to have those same 3 themes, which are our National Heritage Area themes, for the audio stories. So you'll be able to do 3 separate and distinct tours of the Hudson through audio. Lastly, Heritage Development Grants. Applications are being accepted for our Heritage Development Grants through May 2019. This year we have about $70,000 to award, and these are for marketing and promotion and interpretation. Anything you want to add? Then I'm going to move on to my Executive Director's report. Some of you may have noticed that Shannon isn't here this week. Sadie Jean Day arrived January 22nd at 11:45 a.m., weighing in at 7 pounds, 3 ounces, and measuring 20.5 inches long. Shannon, Kenny, Big Sister Riley, and Sadie are all healthy, happy, and at home. We are eagerly awaiting Shannon's return in early April. Beth and Cody and I, working on this meeting without her, have been saying oops a lot.
I don't think we should send her.
We did. We did. But, so we're thrilled for Shannon, and we're really looking forward to having her back. Lastly, I want to thank the staff for their incredible work. We were overworked before, now we've added an Empire State Water Trail. And as always, they smile to my face and say, yeah, let's do it, which I really appreciate. So,
But it's only fair to say that it was Scott who came up with the notion of a water trail, because nobody else had ever done that, as far as we know, right, Henry?
there was one in Maine at the time.
Is it, but anyway, it's a first-class notion, and it's a first-class trail, and you've done a heck of a good job.
Thank you.
You really have.
And there were also a thing called the Adirondack canoe routes that have been around since the 1800s, but we won't mention those. New business public comment. I know, Andy, you wanted to say a couple of things. You want to come on up or grab a mic there, either one?
Yes, thank you. I'll hold the stand here and everything. My first question to both you and the esteemed Mr. Beers is, now that we have a water trail and an Empire State Trail, when can we get an amphibious bicycle to do both at the same time?
They are on, you actually can get a water bike.
Leave it to the Greenway. Thank you.
No, it's actually a rescue device that they use in Hawaii, except they don't work at all well when the wind blows.
Okay, good. Well, in all seriousness, Scenic Hudson did want to share two important facts for the board and the public to consider. First, thank you to Supervisor Shannon Harris and also our partners, Riverkeeper. Tomorrow at 2 p.m. at the Esopus Town Hall, we are partnering to hold a Clean Water Success Forum, looking at how our municipalities in the region have successfully leveraged water infrastructure funding to repair sewer and water infrastructure systems throughout the Hudson Valley. The good news in the backdrop is both the Assembly and the Senate have been consistent with the governor's budget proposal and put in $2.5 billion of investment for that in the next budget cycle. So that's really great to see that, and we hope that this forum is a good way to build on that great commitment from so many branches of government to have clean water. So come on out 2 p.m. tomorrow at the Esopus Town Hall if you can. The second is collaboration with members of Congress, Antonio Delgado, Senator Schumer, and Senator Gillibrand. Included in the public lands package was an authorizing bill to enable the Park Service to purchase the 91-acre Morgan property from the Scenic Hudson Land Trust. The Morgan property is the big, beautiful golden field right to your right as you drive into the National Historic Site here. So many people consider this to very much be part of the existing Park Service complex. In fact, it's not, and we're excited that when we move forward and funding becomes available, the Park Service can acquire this land, and then we'll have a much more consistent management regime at the site here. And so, Larry, we look forward to working with you and your colleagues in Washington as we move in that direction. Thank you.
Andy, could I ask whether that is an authorization to spend federal money to acquire the Morgan property?
Yes, the bill is an authorization for the federal government to purchase the property using appropriated funds or some combination of privately raised funds which could supplement the purchase. So I know there has been a conversation with the Friends Group, and that is still on the table and can be part of the mix to figure out the right strategy.
Terrific news.
Great news. Any other comments? Yes, Fran.
I just wanted to make people aware that the National Geographic just did a story about a 14-foot sturgeon that we identified in the Hudson. It's actually a sturgeon we found last year, and I was at an event with the reporter and told them about it, so it ended up in National Geographic now from last year's monitoring. But it's created a lot of excitement, a lot of additional stories have come out. There's been a naming contest, I believe it's now been called Henrietta. We know it's a female because it's big. DEC's been involved in conserving and restoring sturgeon on the Hudson for over 20 years, and this is a big success story. And if you want to see a picture of a sturgeon, go up the road to the Hyde Park Post Office, which if you've never been there, it's very small, little stone structure, but it's really historic, and it has a mural of sturgeon fishing on the Hudson in the post office. So go up the road and check it out.
And I'll say this because it was in the story. It was right out here.
Yes, thank you for mentioning that.
Other comments in the back, yes.
That's a really neat kiosk in the Washington headquarters. That's a combo of an archival system and a tourist information kiosk. I wondered if anyone could tell me if that's a setup-and-go hardware and software system, or if it had to be jerry-rigged, put together with software developed to do it? Or if you could refer me to someone who could tell me that?
Which kiosk are you talking about?
The one on the second floor of the Washington
I'm going to let Linda
headquarters.
handle that.
There's also a kiosk on the first floor.
Cordell in the back can handle it. It's just developed through our state historic preservation.
The collections portion of it that sort of details what all of the different items are on display was a custom-built software on a Linux platform. The touchscreen displays can be bought off of the shelf, but they have to be programmed with a memory card reader. But all that hardware is stuff that can be purchased. The iPads or the digital platforms there that you can all purchase all the hardware yourself, but the actual software architecture has to be developed custom and was developed custom for the site. I can get you the vendor if you're interested. I don't have that information at hand, though.
Thank you. And one more in the back.
This meeting I found very informative, and I want to applaud the Greenway for the development of the new water trail. In our town of Esopus, somehow the bike and pedestrian trail, Empire Trail, has circumvented our town, but with the longest shoreline of any town in New York State of water in the town of Esopus, we're surrounded on three sides. I look forward to being able to interconnect with the water trail. I also want to thank Scenic Hudson and the DEC Estuary Program for recognizing our town's desire to partner with Scenic Hudson in looking specifically at lands that are under conservation easement in our town for better water access. So now, not only is this happening, but we are equipped with funding and expertise and the municipality coming together with the community to specifically identify interconnections to the water trail. So I look forward to that in the future. Thank you.
You may not know this, but George Freer Park and Slatesburg Spit Launch are both part of the water trail.
Good morning. My name is Priscilla Brendler, and I'm the Executive Director of Greater Hudson Heritage Network. And I wanted to thank the Hudson River Valley National Heritage Area and the Greenway for being our partners again for the 2019 workshop series. This is a webinar and workshop series on harnessing the power of stories. So as we know, museums are all about stories. It's the stories of the region. It's the story about the historic sites that are here. It's the stories of the people who lived in the sites and the collections that they have in the homes. Stories are remembered 10 times longer than bare facts alone. It's important for all of the heritage site members, their volunteers, their interpreters, their docents, to really have a good understanding of the different ways of telling stories at their sites. It can be through first-person interpretation, it can be with docents giving just the bare facts, and it can be through storytelling. And with the partnership of the Greenway, we have our workshop series, which will be held at one of our favorite sites along the Hudson at Boscobel. Yay, again, another shout out, which will be held at the Boscobel in April. It's going to be in June and July, followed by a webinar series in the fall. We have 3 fantastic speakers who are going to hold a whole day workshop on teaching some wonderful skills on how to be the best storytellers. I do have information on the workshop. I'll put it in the back table. But we would appreciate if you could help spread the word and get the information out to all of the heritage sites. And again, thank you very much for your continued sponsorship and support, because we couldn't do all of this training if it wasn't for the Greenway. So thank you on behalf of all the heritage sites for everything that you do for us.
Thank you, Priscilla.
And you get points for mentioning basketball, too. Now, what do we have? Anybody else?
Joan?
Yes.
Go ahead, Joan.
The docents at John Burroughs slab sites are going to the storytelling. So you think we were a problem before, but really have stories.
Yeah, so the answer, that was several questions together, but the Empire State Trail, we are doing a number of things to celebrate and promote connecting trails. We consider the Empire State Trail to be the spine, of which there are many connectors. Specific to the River to Ridge Trail that you mentioned, so New Paltz is one of those places that's becoming kind of rail trail central or trail central. The Empire State Trail comes, from the walkway. It gets to New Paltz on the Hudson Valley Rail Trail, which is part of the route. It turns north on the Wallkill Valley Rail Trail, but there is the River to Ridge Trail, there is the southern extension of the rail trail. So for example, in New Paltz is one of the places we're going to be developing a trailhead. We're designing, signage. We're actually, coincidentally, just finished the design of that last week. That's a map that shows all the connecting trails, the opportunities there, and that information will also be displayed on the Empire State Trail website, which will be mobilely responsive when it goes live. Regarding funding, there are a number of existing funding programs, the annual CFA round, state parks, and other agencies, RTP, Recreational Trail Program, and many of those programs give additional points to they're competitive applications, of course, but they give additional points to trail projects that connect to the Empire State Trail. So there's a lot underway to promote the connections. I'm looking at Vince, who's been a tireless advocate for Rockland County and Orange County, his colleagues there. Of course, the Mario Cuomo Bridge Path will be opening by the end of the summer, which will be another fantastic opportunity in the Hudson Valley.
And the Greenway has also made it a priority on our trail grants for the foreseeable future and for the last 2 years. If you are an existing Greenway trail and you are proposing to connect to the Empire State Trail, you get a I think it's a 5-point bonus out of 100. And we gave a grant last year, for example, to Scenic Hudson to connect to the Mario Cuomo Bridge and the Riverwalk Trail. And I know Andy's working on another trail to connect all of that over to the Empire State Trail in Westchester. So yes, there are efforts. Colonel, I think you...
Yes, sir. Thank you. The Hudson River Valley Institute is your academic arm, and we have two exciting things happening. One, the new issue of the Hudson River Valley Review is going to press. Chairman McHenry paid for subscriptions for all of you Greenway members. Those have expired. We're about to send out renewal letters. I hope you will join us in our effort to share the great stories of the Hudson River Valley. Second, we are doing the Woodstock Conference. We're going to have a conference on the 13th and 14th of June at Marist, where we'll look at the turbulent 60s and all of its many dimensions, and we will finish it up with a Woodstock Festival panel on Friday night, where we'll hear from participants, children and grandchildren of Richie Haven, for example, in terms of the musicians who played at Woodstock. You may now register online, and we hope that you will be able to join us with this very important 50-year anniversary of the Woodstock Festival. Thank you, sir. Sirs.
Colonel Johnson does a great many good things for this valley, and this is just one of them. And indeed, it's extraordinary what you've done in the Hudson River Valley Review. You created, and now how many subscribers do you have? Well, you're doing a great job.
Anyone else? All right, let me close by saying upcoming Greenway board meeting. The next meeting is June 12th. Again, Shannon's not here, so I can't tell you where it is. I think it's here, but we will let you know. The next two dates on the agenda you got today are different than the initial agenda that the board received. We've moved the dates to October 9th and December 11th. So if you had a September and November schedule, please update your calendars. Again, that's October 9th and December 11th. And with
Thank you all very much for coming. We accomplished a great deal today, and we look forward to doing more with our good friends, right?
Thank you so much. Absolutely.
Thank you.
Have a great day, everyone.
Okay,
Enjoy spring.
bye-bye.
Happy spring.